Encore! More! Bravo!
Batman Arkham City flat out rules. Its combat is some of the most addictive in the medium, and the Predator mode is a blast as well. Moreover, both these modes have an expertly structured depth that can really separate novice players from the pros, even if the game itself is rather easy. The replayability is some of the most extensive and compelling I've ever seen. The story is gripping with one hell of an ending, and this might just be my favorite rendition of the Batman universe. And yet, I don't know, am I the only one to whom Arkham Asylum just looks better and better by the day? I do prefer Arkham City because it does have the superior core gameplay by virtue of being an expertly handled sequel. This is one of my favorite games of all time I'm talking about here. But that doesn't make it perfect, especially with such a strong predecessor that I'll be comparing it to. Besides, as cool as Arkham Knight does look from a technological standpoint, the more I'm hearing about the game makes me worried that Rocksteady might repeat or even accentuate the same mistakes. So let's compare Arkham City to Arkham Asylum and see if we can't learn a thing or two. This is going to include plot dissection, so if you're wary of spoilers, now's the time to duck out, because the title of this video wasn't lying. This is everything Arkham City did wrong. Now, to be fair, some of this game's shortcomings didn't escape the notice of players and critics alike. The most common complaint the game's story tends to receive is that there were too many villains. But what's interesting is that when you actually count out the villains in each of the campaigns, there isn't much of a deficit. Arkham Asylum has 7 villains while Arkham City has 9. Moreover, some villains in both games really didn't take that much screen time. I mean, as cool as they were, Bane and Zsasz from Arkham Asylum really could have been cut out. And Arkham City really did need to have Harley Quinn, Two-Face, and Solomon Grundy. And while Clayface was an important cameo, he was still a cameo. So now look at the villain rosters. The games are kind of even, aren't they? Maybe there's more of a problem then. It was disappointing to see characters like Two-Face and Harley Quinn, and heck, while we're at it, Robin and even Catwoman get the shaft, but that's not really the big problem here. Let's compare the 5 villains of Arkham Asylum to those of Arkham City. Arkham Asylum's villains all really played second fiddle to one main villain, the Joker. He was top dog, the ultimate threat, the first one on the scene and the last one to enjoy an exploding fist to the face. The rest of the villains, as impactful as they did ultimately feel, kudos Rocksteady, were not the main threats, they were all secondary. This did wonders for giving Arkham Asylum a focus that its sequel desperately needed. I really get the feeling that Arkham City kind of wanted to be this great multi-dimensional superhero epic. As a result, it meanders between Hugo Strange, the Joker, Ra's al Ghul, and a huge sidetrack with the Penguin. This lack of focus takes away any kind of overarching goal to work towards, and thus leads to a less satisfying narrative. It also really takes away from a certain plot twist. I'll put it bluntly, Ra's al Ghul being behind Hugo Strange's actions was an unfulfilling development. The plot was muddled enough, and to have Hugo Strange usurped by a villain with very little screen time was kind of stupid and unfulfilling. Plus, the revelation is basically all we get because both Strange and Ra's get killed off 2 minutes after we learn this, with nothing more to learn until maybe a sequel. It'd be like if during the final confrontation in Arkham Asylum with Joker and Batman smack-talking, Scarecrow popped up and said it was all his idea. Except Scarecrow actually got enough screen time in that game. I'm sorry, Ra's, it's not like I don't care about you, but you know what? No, I don't care about you, and that goes double for Hugo Strange. Really, this guy's effectively the main villain of the story, but after the game's opening, we don't hear jack from this guy until he's blowing up the whole place 5 hours later. That is not effective pacing, and it makes me care about Hugo Strange even less than Ra's al Ghul. And that's why I find myself so apathetic to the whole Hugo-Raj twist. These two bozos had the collective screen time of maybe a half an hour, and now both of them are trying to take credit for this. I just don't care about either of them, and since Hugo Strange is supposed to be a central villain, that's a really bad thing. It doesn't help that Arkham City is very short. For some perspective, I recently replayed both games to get footage for this video. Arkham Asylum took 6.5 hours, while Arkham City took 6.5 hours, and that was with a little side questing and Riddler trophy hunting. So if anything, Arkham City is shorter than Arkham Asylum. Look, I would never accuse Arkham City of not offering enough content to justify its $60 price tag. In fact, with all the side quests, Riddler trophies, and challenge rooms, I've probably put more hours into Arkham City than I have into any other game, except maybe Civ 5. But the campaign itself is just not long enough to showcase Joker and Hugo and Ra's. I mean, really think about the sequence of events in this game. I'll streamline it for you, getting rid of all the 10-minute long unnecessary parts like the Catwoman execution scene at the beginning and the Quincy Sharp interrogation. Okay, you ready? You enter the city, get poisoned by Joker, rescue Freeze from Penguin, confront Ra's al Ghul, fight Freeze, fight Joker, fight Strange, fight Joker, done. Really, that's about it. You notice how little screen time each villain ultimately gets? Look, I'm not complaining about value here. I don't think the campaign is long enough to accommodate both the Joker and Hugo Strange, as well as all of the other villains in this game. The story just flies right by, and I don't think it's as fulfilling as it could have been. You know, maybe it's not fair for me to constantly compare Arkham City to Arkham Asylum. I think that when Asylum initially came out, there were so many other obvious virtues to praise, like its combat, stealth, presentation of the Batman mythos, blah blah blah, great stuff. As a result, I think the elegant pacing that brought the whole package together kind of flew under the radar. And 2 years later, Arkham City comes out and winds up feeling clunky and disjointed in comparison. That's not to say I dislike the story at all. Let it be said that I absolutely love what they did with the Joker in this game. Even if he isn't the main villain this time around, they managed to brilliantly characterize his relationship with Batman, and the Clayface twist is fantastic. That works, but the rest feels like wasted potential. Alright, says the audience at home. The story had its downsides. Can we please go now? Well, sorry, I still have some stuff to say about the gameplay. Yeah, the mechanics are top-notch, but that's not all gameplay analysis entails, does it? To start off, the bosses are too easy and simplistic, and I could certainly go for some more stealth encounters a la Metal Gear Solid 3. You know, like with Mr. Freeze, except maybe a bit challenging. Personally, I'm pulling for a stealth encounter in Killer Croc's sewer maze. While we're on the subject of encounters, have you ever noticed how most or all of the climaxes for the side missions in Arkham City were kind of pathetic? Bane, Deadshot, Azrael, Mad Hatter, Zsasz, Hush, even the Riddler are all cutscenes, regular fistfights, or very simplistic don't wake daddy style crawls to a contextual takedown. I mean, I understand that not nearly as many people are going to finish these side quests as those who beat the main campaign, especially that asininely long Riddler side quest, and I have no doubt that Rocksteady had to cut some corners here and there. But that does not stop these side quests from feeling very anticlimactic. I also miss the crime scene investigations. After all, Batman is the world's greatest detective. So why are these sequences so simplistic? And why are there so few of them? Give Arkham Asylum credit, now that I haven't done plenty of that already. It used that mechanic to great effect, but here it feels like they mostly forgot the gameplay mechanic existed, and that's a real shame. To me, it feels like that one missing piece Rocksteady really needs to nail to make a truly all-encompassing Batman experience. Finally, and this is the big one, the campaign is just not very replayable. Confused? How do I put this? Well, look, I've already gone on and on about how I've put an obnoxious amount of hours into getting this game's Platinum Trophy. In other words, the game itself has plenty of replay value, but the campaign doesn't. Not to sound ungrateful, but why would I replay the campaign? The core gameplay won't make me. I get my combat fix from popping in the Penguin's Iceberg Lounge. It's actually a pretty great way to unwind from a long day. And the Predator mode is readily available as well. Put simply, the challenge mode undermines Arkham City because it accentuates the game's main problem. It needs more than just amazing core gameplay to be replayable. What does the campaign offer me that I can't get in the challenge mode? The story? Yeah, it's great despite the aforementioned issues. However, because of the above issues as well as the sandbox, it's easy to feel detached from the narrative, unlike the linear Arkham Asylum, which keeps you right on the story from beginning to end. Boss fights? They're good, but honestly, I'm not about to replay the entirety of Arkham City just so I can fight Mr. Freeze again. Puzzles? Very few, actually. The only sequences that really stand out to me are the Penguin Ice Rink, that part in Wonder City where you track down the memory video, that way too easy Lazarus gliding sequence, and that part where you climb up Wonder Tower. Other than those sections, Arkham City is basically just a procession of fighting and Predator sections. Now, on a surface level, that's no problem at all. Like I said, I think both of these gameplay styles are a blast. But let's look at Arkham Asylum and that elegant pacing I brought up earlier. Apart from the story being better told, there was considerably more variety. Remember those Saw-like sections where civilians were taken hostage by time bomb-style diabolical traps? Where did those parts go in Arkham City? And no, the Riddler doesn't count, he's a side quest. Asylum also had some good sections where you had to ghost your way to your objective without alerting anyone. Where the heck did that go? Then we had the amazing Scarecrow parts in Asylum. Arkham City sure gave it the old college try with the Ra's al Ghul sequence, but it's not even close to as good. I feel like a lot of this is due to the sandbox nature of Arkham City as opposed to the linearity of Asylum. Yeah, when you first play Arkham City, the sandbox is amazing, and even now I will praise the design of the open world. But on repeat playthroughs, the more time you spend in the sandbox, the more you realize that the missions are a bit blander when restricted to the sandbox. It's when you go into a more specifically tailored environment when you get a lot more interesting things done. Hence the more diverse campaign of Arkham Asylum. I'll put it this way, there's quite a few open world areas that are also stealth bits, like the entrance to the steel mill. But are any of these sections challenge maps? I didn't think so. Look, I'm basically trying to say that if you want better pacing as well as more variety, stay indoors as much as possible. That's what Arkham Asylum did, and you'd be amazed how much more replayable it would have made Arkham City. So that's a wrap. In summary, Arkham City is wonderful from a mechanical level, and the Joker story arc is terrific. All I would have liked to see was a longer campaign to develop other aspects of the experience, and more deliberate pacing servicing stronger creativity. The only question now is, how's Arkham Knight gonna do? And to be honest, I have no idea. The Batmobile combat is really rubbing me the wrong way, and the Fear takedowns look stupid. But you know what, guys? It's Rocksteady. When they announced that they weren't shoehorning in any stupid multiplayer mode, they earned my trust for at least until this game eventually comes out. And don't you worry, guys, when that day is upon us, I will be there to overanalyze Arkham Knight as well.